Good day, fellow geeks, and welcome to A Geek Named Bob Presents 100 Days of Horror. 100 Days of Horror is a concept recently shown to me by my good friend Kim of the Horror Honeys and a writer for Belladonna magazine, in which she and everyone else who's involved, we are each watching 100 horror films we haven't seen before. Yes, I know, 100 films we haven't seen before of horror. I don't think that many are left, but actually, strange enough, there are. Kim's been doing this for 4 years, and this is my first, and I got a good backlog of stuff to go through, so why not dive in? If you want to follow along to everything myself and other people are watching before these videos come up, or their various reviews, you can check out 100 Days of Horror on Facebook. Just search for it. 100 is numeral, and you can find everything we're talking about. I'm covering certain films, Kim's doing other ones, Tony's doing other ones, as we each come across them. My first film is Larry Cohen's It's Alive, which Kim and I watched together at her house as we live tweeted our thoughts. You can find her thoughts at Seattle Screams, or mine at A Geek Named Bob, and all of which were shared by at the Horror Honeys. It's Alive is from 1974. It's written and directed by Larry Cohen, a name which you might not be aware of, but you probably have seen or heard of some stuff that he's worked on. In the 1970s, he made a series of slightly underwhelming but great idea horror films such as our movie today, It's Alive, Q, The Winged Serpent, and God Told Me To. You might actually know Larry Cohen's work best from his writing. He is the writer of the original Maniac Cop, a wonderful series of films that are just so entertaining. It was one of my favorite B-movies of all time, directed by William Lustig and starring Bruce Campbell in at least 2 of them, I believe. It's been a while since I watched those. But he had a great brief career resurgence in the 2000s when he wrote Phone Booth, directed by Joel Schumacher and starring Colin Farrell. He also wrote Cellular, which starred Kim Basinger, and then there's also the late 2000s awful torture porn film Captivity. Back to It's Alive. First, let's talk about the plot before we talk about anything else. So the plot is, it follows a man as his wife gives birth to a murderous mutant albino child, which wanders away across Los Angeles, making a trail of destruction in its wake. So with a premise like that, you'd think you'd have a really cheesy, funny, kind of off-the-wall, where's-it-going movie. But it's actually treated a little serious compared to what we expected. So it wasn't quite the movie we wanted, but we still enjoyed the movie that we did watch. You would think we'd focus a little more on, say, the child or the mother, but instead we hardly ever see the kid, and the mom is kind of written out of the story pretty quickly. She's treated as, hysterical for having a mutant baby child. But instead we follow the father as he is kind of blasé about the whole thing. In fact, everyone is, and that's what we found most interesting, is that no one really seems to bat an eye, as if this happens every day. The baby comes out, kills 5 doctors, breaks through a skylight, and kills like 8 people across Los Angeles over the course of like a week and a half. And it's kind of a mention in the news, but it seems so normal. Like this happens all the time. Like, oh, he killed 5 doctors. Don't worry, we got 5 more in the basement. Let's bring them back up. It's a shrug and I guess we'll kill this thing. We got nothing better to do because Los Angeles is completely free of crime, right? And so we're trying to figure out what type of movie it's trying to tell. The father completely disowns this baby as he's trying to hunt down and kill it until the end where he's like, no, this is my son. So, is it about unaccepting of fatherhood? Like, he has an older son that he gets along with just fine, who's actually kind of not in the movie as well. He goes off with his uncle for a couple of days and doesn't seem to question the fact that he's not allowed to watch TV for 2 weeks as he goes fishing with the Uncle Charlie. But, yeah, so it's treated seriously, but we're not sure what the message is. As I've seen in many other of Cohen's movies, Q, The Winged Serpent, Bone, The Stuff from 1985, so when he wrote movies to other directors later, those turned out to be mostly alright. Like Phone Booth, I love. I think it's a great attention, but I can't see him actually directing it. Same thing with Cellular, which is kind of okay. I like the premise, but the actual execution is good enough. So by following the father as he tries to figure out what to do about this kid, we kind of almost get into what we did expect, where taking the child home and trying to raise what is essentially a monster, almost, or maybe not even accepting that your son or daughter is a monster, and everyone else is questioning you for how you're going to raise this thing. But by following just the father as the baby slashes its way across Los Angeles, you get a slightly different feel, and also get a really low-grade movie, because he's not interesting to watch. He's not all that great of an actor. He doesn't seem to care. No one really seems to care or show any real emotion about these actions that are taking place. But I understand them following here, because the actual horror sequences when the baby kills the person are really tension-free and really repetitive. You come across a character we've seen before, sometimes a one-off, by themselves as they follow a weird noise, follow a trail of blood until, oh, there's a quick shot of the baby and the person's dead with the throat ripped out. That's it. The only extended sequence in this is when he kills a milkman, and that's actually pretty well done. It's stretched out a little to make it work instead of something's in the bushes and, oh, I'm dead. It doesn't help that the monster doesn't look all that great. You've probably seen pictures of it at various points. It looks like a baby version of Fluke Man from the X-Files, almost a prototype. And with Rick Baker doing the creature effects, I expected something a lot better from it. Instead, it looks like he just finished a baby mold, painted it white, threw some fangs on it, called it a day. So and it doesn't move very well. So it's probably best if we don't see it all often. But not seeing it doesn't actually increase attention at all. It makes us like wonder why we aren't showing this monster. It isn't like the shark in Jaws or some really cool monster to show you later on the end of the film. We kind of know what it looks like if you do get flashes, and as I said, it's not that interesting to look at. In fact, which makes the whole film seem like a lesser effort. There are 2 sequels that I've heard are actually a little better and a little more fun and goes more into that process, and really, in 2008, awful remake that I haven't seen, but everyone else is awful, including director Larry Cohen of this. But what's weird, even though I'm complaining about it a lot, I still kind of liked it. Even with all the different elements that didn't come together well, something about it still almost works, which is why I think it was a great idea to try and remake it in 2008, even if it turned out awful. The same premise with better effects, better characters, and a better director could be really amazing. Yeah, go ahead and check it out. You can rent it on Amazon. I'm sure it's on Netflix somewhere. It's not a bad way to spend 90 minutes. There are certainly better ways and worse ways. But for what it is, it's an interesting enough film. Check it out.